House of Biryani. Why is the I missing from biryani?
So I'll give you the non-BS version, okay? Try registering a biryani brand name.
Oh.
I'm a chef by profession. I got an opportunity to work with Gordon Ramsay in London. My family business happens to be biryani.
What are your, top learnings from your grandfather?
Treat people fairly. Our biggest USP is we are the only biryani brand where you can build your own biryani. We've been in the biryani space for the last decade, served over at least millions of portions of biryani.
Your predominant audience has also been 8 to 15 years.
Make kids love your food. Because if they love your food, there's a high chance of PM fit.
If I were to start a cloud kitchen today, right, what would be the guidance or a process that you would?
Entrepreneurship is not sexy at all. In the pursuit of scale, don't dilute your product. And I think this is something many of us are culprits. Swiggy and Zomato have done a great job in democratizing entrepreneurs, right, who want to start a food business. In my opinion, a cloud kitchen has to hit a 16-18 lakh revenue if it is heavily dependent on marketplace.
Top 3 metrics to measure in a cloud kitchen model.
Your repeat discounts, and to get all of that.
On today's episode, we have the biryani man, Mr. Mohammad Bhol, who's the founder of House of Biryani. He is a veteran in the food industry and now owns 20 plus cloud kitchens at House of Biryani. My top 3 level ups from this episode are the right metrics to measure a cloud kitchen business model, his real and raw thoughts on franchising in a food business, and the top 3 mistakes one must not commit when entering a food business. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mohammad Bhol, only on Level Up. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to Level Up Podcast Season 2, where our purpose is to help India's youth become smarter and better individuals by sharing successful stories of founders. To help us achieve this purpose, please do subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell below so that we can make more such videos and this video can reach maximum people. Welcome to Level Up, Mohammad Bhol. It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell me one very interesting thing I would want to know. If you were to explain biryani in very simple words to a layman who's never tasted biryani, how would you do that?
So the yummiest one-pot meal where you get everything in layered of goodness with your carbs, your protein, and your sauces all in one dish.
Okay. When you say carbs, protein, everything, is there some proper, the kind of nutrition-based facts that you guys put out when you all are delivering or you all are marketing to your customers? Okay, this is the portion of biryani. This much protein you'll get. This much carbs you'll get. What is it?
So when we put out information, I think it is more to do with how much chicken you'll get and maybe the portion size. But the dichotomy is that the last thing a guy who's having a biryani is say somebody who's a health freak on his cheat day, and the last thing you want to do is put out like how many calories that is going to be. So no, we don't do that. We did in my journey. Yes, I've had brushes. The temptation of vegan and plant-based and all caught on. But yeah, biryani is supposed to be savored. I don't think anybody wants to muddle it by putting that health angle to it.
Got it. Okay. Before we get into House of Biryani, the business angle to it and your story angle to it, tell me about your early days. How did you start? Where have, what else have you done before House of Biryani?
So I'll tell you my story and my journey. I'm a chef by profession. I've done my culinary education from one of the most premier institutes in the country, Taj. And then I got really lucky, right? So I got an opportunity to work with Gordon Ramsay in London.
Okay.
I was in London for 2.5 years. And while I was there, I finished my higher education. My family business happens to be biryani. So my grandfather started a traditional biryani catering business back in like the late 50s.
Okay.
And, it's a very traditional business. I'm sure you must have heard about the thal where 8 people sit around and eat. So
Correct.
our family was one of the 2 back in the day, really popular. So here's the deal. I come back from London with amazing ideas, so much exposure, and the third day I've been told, listen, don't reinvent the wheel. It's working. It's an annuity business. You will do more harm than good.
Annuity business.
And I think that's where I got my cue on finding my own path. Um, so me and my colleague Mikhail, we were instrumental in running Mumbai's best steakhouse back in the day, 212 Bar and Grill. I was a part of that team that headed the kitchen at Le Pont Coteau. I set up Mumbai's first French restaurant. So I've done quite a bit of hospitality projects, but the niggle always was that you have a Subway, you have a McDonald's, you have a Pizza Hut. All of these have taken like a category, a large food category, and created a very, very large playbook, a global playbook.
Correct.
Why is it not done with biryani? Why is it not done with ethnic food? I think that was the itch or the question or the desire or the problem that I felt very early, to solve. Um, Actually, if you peel the fabric of that problem, I would say uh, what I knew back then was the fact that Indian food and biryani is a very art driven cuisine. Like even now, right? I mean, there is this whole nazakat, the ustad, the art of making Indian food. Whereas if you want to create scale, you have to eliminate the art and you have to replace it with science. And unless you don't do that, if you are going to be heavily dependent on skill, you can't scale. You can have a great 1, 2, 3 restaurant if your goal is to get a Michelin star and have a lifestyle business. But if you want to build a scalable business, you need to replace that with systems and processes. So back ending of Indian food, supply chain, and really simple processes at the last mile is something that I've dedicated the last decade of my life with.
Okay, got it. So you've been completely into the food business,
Yes.
and so you've opened other restaurants also, you said.
That's right.
Or okay, you've started those restaurants. Are they still operating? What is?
So LPQ isn't, but I would say my first foray of break into QSR was back in 2015. Me and my colleague in HOB, we co-founded Charcoal Eats back in the day.
Oh,
We were the
nice.
technical co-founders. The whole genesis was laid down by both of us, and we were there for 7, 8 years before we got bought out and exited, and then we started House of Biryani. So you can safely say, I think, in our journey, we've been in the biryani space for the last decade. Served over at least millions of portions of biryani, and stuck with delivery. Um, you can safely say this is my third rodeo, and it's like we're very lucky to get a certain level of success with HOB in a short time. And anyone who asks me, the only answer I have is I've got a long list of things what not to do.
Hmm.
So when you just
Can
fall,
you name? Can you name like two, three? Can you list down two, three things which you're not supposed to do?
so I think what happens is, and I have been also privy to this, is in the pursuit of scale, don't dilute your product. And I
Okay.
think this is something many of us are culprits. Even the ones who are from the field, it has nothing to do with how much experience you have. It's just one of those perils of scale and the temptation of scaling. So that is one. Two is also, I think, understanding the fact that biryani is a very complicated category. So even if you solve the process and the backend problem of delivering consistent biryani everywhere, you can't just cut, copy, paste it. You can take a
Okay.
burger and you can go to different regions in the country, but when it comes to biryani, as you change the state, it changes completely. And for me, that has been my biggest reflection. Uh, you
Is the
know,
biggest challenge
it's
you would
it's a
say?
challenge, which is why if you notice, you don't have a unified biryani chain all over the country. You have guys who are extremely popular in their own micro markets. And case in point, you had Amis Biryani, very popular in Bangalore. They were the first guys to get massive funding back in the day. They came to Bombay, but it
Could
didn't
not.
work out.
Hmm.
Even a strong brand, a legacy brand like Arsalan, which is you'll find large queues, long queues outside their store in Kolkata today. But they came to Bombay, it didn't work out. They had to shut. So the 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 tidbit over here is multiple things, right? One, while you and me will agree on a pizza and a burger, But when it comes to a biryani, where we are from, our culture, our religion, community, all that influences a large part in
Wow.
what a biryani means to me.
Okay.
Uh, I think this has been one of the philosophical lessons that we've taken when we started House of Biryani. So we say, you know, come to us for taste. We don't want to fight the authenticity battle. In fact, our thesis is that if you want to build scale, you cannot be authentic. Authenticity and scale don't go hand in hand, right? So our thesis is, look, we give you a yummy product, and our biggest USP is we are the only biryani brand where you can build your own biryani. So we take the entire, the attack away on whether we are
Authentic
authentic
or
or
not.
not by giving the consumer the power of building what a biryani means to him. And that's what we say, right? We are not here to fight the authenticity battle. We are here to represent the best parts of a biryani platform, and we let the user define what biryani means to them.
How do you do that? So it is something like Subway, what you were telling
Yes.
outside
So we've
also.
got a category called Meri Wali Biryani where a user can, d- you know, define what sauce he wants.
So I can order that online
Yes,
and
you can
put that.
online right
Okay.
now. And you can order that. And you can choose your sauce, choose your proteins, mix and match your proteins. There's some interesting stuff happening, right? The younger audience, the Gen Z, they don't want to be told what and how to eat. They will decide now whether it's whacked out or no, or they do not care about tradition. All they care about is taste, consistency, predictability, and now with the advent of quick commerce, nobody is willing to wait 60 minutes. They want, so that's why 80% of our orders are delivered within half an hour. And that is, I think, our entire thesis at HOB.
Hmm. You mentioned outside that your predominant audience has also been 8 to 15 years.
So we've got a very interesting, hack which I'll share with everyone and all your users today is uh, make kids love your food, because if they love your food, there's a high chance of PM fit. Because usually when you have kids and you ask them what you want to order, their first response is burger and pizza, because
Correct.
biryani is a very boring category. So how do you transcend that category on look and feel, and also with the products and the way you present yourself to basically appeal to them? And that is the journey that we are on with
How are you all
HOB.
doing that right now?
So as of now, like I told you, Meri Wali Biryani is one. Two, we are completely in the mode of rebranding. So we're rebranding from House of Biryani to HOB. We've got a very cool mascot, a lot of fun elements. We are going to be launching a store where you can come and assemble your own biryani. It's going to be a multi-sensorial experience where you can see your biryani being assembled, choose what you want, mix and match your proteins. Do all of that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Think of like McDonald meets biryani, and that slant, rather than giving the traditional matka and angithi and all of that, with the younger audience honestly does not relate to.
So this is an assessment on Shah Rukh Khan, and the way he has done his movies. He's always catered to the kids, and he's always catered to the women,
Okay.
right? In terms of his movies, and once they become the fan, it is automatic that the family, the husband, the guy, the parents also become fans, and they also come to watch in throughout his movie. So this was a case study done on him, how he's become so successful, the so-called king of
Yeah.
Bollywood, right? Because he started catering to the youngest lot of the family, and once they want to see him,
Yeah.
it has to be done that okay, the family has to come
So
because the kids want to do that.
actually, that I'm glad you mentioned it, because there were a couple of occasions where we have 8 and 10-year-olds influencing
Hmm.
decisions. Also, I think the my co-founder is not here today, Mikhail, but the way he's built the entire category or the categories that we serve is also extremely unique. He innovated a dish called kepsa, which
Okay.
is kepsa traditionally in Mid Eastern. It's a Mid Eastern dish, and usually you make a broth. You make a broth of the meat and you cook your rice in it. So the rice got the flavor of the broth. But what he's done is he's taken a tikka masala and a Szechuan sauce, Indo Asian, and it's lip smacking yummy. In fact, our highest selling dish is not biryani; it's a kepsa.
Oh.
Yeah. So
And you
That
have
is
various other dishes. I've
various
seen,
other
like I
dishes. So
saw
what we've done
halwa
is,
is there.
rather
This is
than taking a typical Moglai tandoori chicken approach, what we've done is we've said, okay, what are the other categories that are really hard for restaurants to deliver and consumers would love? We identified galati. So we said, okay, you know what? If you want a great galati, you will have to pay an arm and a leg, go to ITC. How do we give you a 95% parable of that at a fraction of a cost in the comfort of your living room? So we started with that, hit it out of the park, and then we launched veg options in that, and that became a category on its own. It's a highest rated category. In fact, the ratings of galati are much higher than our biryani. Then we post galati, we did rolls. Then we did just recently we launched curries. So we've taken a very food first approach. We've not really put pressure on ourselves by saying, listen, just because you are a brand, you have to do these 10 categories at once. In fact, all our categories are spread out. We've not done food to fill the menu, but really when it's a screaming yes, we've kind of launched. So having that mindset, just doing things slowly, not really thinking of scale at all, focusing on consumer love, all the basics. I mean, the question I ask is, how would my grandfather build it if he were alive today? And just going back to all the basics and leaving all the shenanigans of scale and startup aside is what we've done. and
proper
and I think
dhanda.
that's, yeah,
Ah.
and that's what kind of delivered. Because everything, the success you see in the business is not through anything but just consumer love. Our repeats are through the roof, and I think that's what's driving it. So it's been a full circle for us. And you would say, oh, but isn't that obvious? But as an entrepreneur, when you get into it, all the basics and obvious beyond a point, there comes a point where you just start missing them. And I have no shame in accepting that I have been down that road.
Yeah, I think everyone goes through that. What are your top learnings from your grandfather?
Treat people fairly. Uh, that is one. Two, don't compromise on quality. Uh, Even if the consumer doesn't know, don't take shortcuts. Even if he doesn't know, I think those old traditional values system, and bringing them in the modern day business, and not using scale as an excuse to compromise on them. Um, it's a very simple thing, right? Something as simple as, when do you pay? So everyone's got this thing, okay, we will pay employees, we pay on the 15th. Whereas we said, no, we'll pay on the first and second. And they say, okay, if you do that, they'll run away. We said, okay, so be it. So it is just those small little things on with your
I
people,
agree. Yeah.
and with just ensuring that you don't really compromise on your product. That's your soul. So don't sell the soul to the devil in the pursuit of scale and growth.
Hmm. Interesting. Coming to your name, House of Biryani. Uh, why is the I missing from biryani?
So I'll give you the non BS version. Okay, try registering a biryani brand name.
Oh. Okay.
Right, so it is I think this conversation was more driven by the lawyer and less by us. When we went out to name or find a name for the brand, it was surprising with the number of options that dwindled. In fact, funny story is that Biryan was not spelled Biryan. It was Beriyyan, like the Persian Beryan.
Ah, okay.
But I think we kind of screwed ourselves again, because when people went to Swiggy Zomato, they just could not understand, right? So we had to then change that to Biryan. And now we are, I think, organically over a period of time, everybody just started calling us HOB. So now we are rebranding to HOB.
Hmm. Interesting. In this category, in the food category, right? There is a very high importance of marketing and brand building. At the end of the day, you get biryani in every restaurant, right? आप कहाँ पे भी जाते हो, you'll get biryani. Yeah. But how do you brand this commoditized item? What have you all taken in terms? What steps have you all taken to brand this item? To make a category out of its, which is an existing product, but to make a brand out of it. What steps have you all taken?
So I think my biggest learning and advice to anyone who's doing this, especially a commoditized category, don't talk about the product at all. In fact, don't even mention the product. Now, this might sound very weird, but I think what we need to do is we need to create a vibe where users are experiencing the product and stressing more on how they feel after experiencing the product. So that's the approach we have taken, right? I think initially when we started, yes, in between you will have to educate people when you're doing different products, but rather than talking about ingredients, talking about style of cooking, the route that we've taken is more of uh, people enjoying uh, a nice reel or a video where you know you show the chef making it, but not really get technical. uh, See, I think it all starts with who your audience is. Who is the audience you want to cultivate? Now, if you want to go to the Gen Z audience, you have to understand their attention span is extremely low. So if it is boring, it's not going to vibe. So the idea is, how do you make it interesting? And definitely, I don't think any Gen Z guy wants to know the pain and the labor it takes in making a biryani. They're not interested. Okay, unless they're a connoisseur in food and they want to, which will be like 1 out of maybe 500. They're not interested. So they want to know what is the. So we focused more on the vibe. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. Like,
Yeah.
for Diwali, we created a hook step.
Okay.
So there was a dance influencer in Delhi who created a HOB hook step called the HOB Tadka. And the marketing was done in a way that anyone who does the HOB Tadka and puts it on Instagram will get a free biryani. And then you keep tagging. So everybody kept tagging, and it just went viral. Now, that is just one example, right? So the idea is, how do you create engagement with fun, with people consuming, enjoying, sharing, and not product. That's been our approach. And look, it evolves. It will be very different in your initial 6 months. Then as users, as you build your community, users give you feedback, it'll keep evolving. Now, this whole rebrand with HOB, it was not our idea. It is the feedback that
The
we got from
customer's idea.
consumers, and
Okay.
that's how.
Okay. Also, another take, that you guys have gone little bit, different from the traditional way of branding. Again, that we were just talking before the shoot, that your color combination, the branding, etc., is very much different from what a typical food brand would go towards. Why that?
So look, if you see the logos of biryani brands, right? While they might all look different, there is a sea of sameness in them. We wanted to break that mold. Okay. So we wanted a McDonald-esque process driven perception, but more of a White Castle with a mascot meets biryani.
Okay.
And to do that, I think we have had to break the mold. In fact, I think the next bet we're taking in our journey from a go to market perspective is a kind of a kiosk or a food court where you can come and assemble your biryani. It'll go on a conveyor belt. You can see how your biryani is getting dum. All of that, but it'll all happen in like 2.5, 3 minutes. There'll be biryani smell in the air. You can see your biryani dum happening in that automated machine that we are about to patent very soon. So the idea is, think what a biryani store in the future looks like. How do you make it cool? How do you make it engaging? Rather than focusing on, hey, you know what, my Lucknowi biryani is the most authentic and my Hyderabadi is the most authentic, and these are the 50 spices and the 100 spices I've used. I think it's done.
Hmm. You have to
No
think
one
about the
cares.
future. You have
Yeah,
to.
no one cares. No one
Yeah.
cares what blood, sweat, tears, or what you've done. What they care about is the
Yeah. This
product.
is little futuristic.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
the product yummy? Is it tasty? Did I get it quickly? Is it the same every single time? And it ends over there.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So, when you said that you want to, focus on customers, right? How do you make sure that these guys are coming back to you also? Because again, that's a very important aspect in this business. Once they order from Swiggy, you might not get the data of that customer. I'm not
So
sure,
we don't
but
get granular data,
ha.
but we do get repeat numbers.
Okay, you get that.
And as you know, in Swiggy and Zomato, there are three cohorts, right?
Hmm.
The least affluent user, mid market, and then the upper. And you do get repeat numbers of all three cohorts. The good part with us, and I think the litmus test is that all our stores which are over 9 months old have at least all the orders that they do, over 55% of the orders are repeat. And people repeat means a user that has come in the last 45 days,
45 days.
not 1 year.
So the
and
45 days
yeah,
cohort, yeah.
and the other thing that we also see uh, is organic versus inorganic. Like, are you going to Swiggy and typing House of Biryani HOB, or have you seen the ad and you've gone there? So that probably gives you a little flavor and color on.
What is that percentage for you guys?
So for our mature stores, it is 60% is organic, and that's healthy. Uh, and every micro market you go, of course, it's low, and then you build your user base and so on and so forth, and that's how. And that's a very important, right? Because ultimately, your repeat user is the one who's going to drive all the metrics, which will make sense financially for the business. You can't keep just spending money on acquiring and not converting them back. It just will not make sense.
But how do you make sure that they are coming back to you?
So like I said, right?
Any 1-2 methods that you all have used in terms of getting those customers back?
So what we've done is, one thing that has worked really well for us is we've not had a very large menu with dead products. Like, for example, what happens is usually cloud kitchens, especially in the Indian category, are tempted to have a 200 plus item menu, right? We don't do that. And I think what we do is, we only the items that we know that users love, we have. So we constantly, and we innovate. Like, for example, we're launching in Dubai, and my co-founder, he's done a truffle camembert. So a camembert cheese with truffle and chaat masala. Then asparagus and water chestnut shami kebabs. So it is how do you take these innovative ingredients but give it that slight of Indian feel? And this is what is resonating really well with the younger audience. They don't want the same old ghisa pita, paneer tikka, and paneer kebab and so on. They want
To try new
to
things.
try new things. Yeah.
Do you also have plans to open any restaurant, like a full-blown restaurant?
At this
Or-
point, we don't. I think our focus is to remain on delivery. That's our moat. But like I said, we are going to be experimenting with subway style kiosks or in food court, and we'll build our thesis one step at a time.
Got it. How do you, there are a few biryani brands also which have probably raised funds and have created a brand, basically, not just a commoditized kind of a restaurant. How do you differentiate from those people?
So,
Let's say
firstly,
biryani by kilo, just for an example, I'm saying,
correct.
but there are other 3-4 also.
So look, if you really ask for competitors, I think Beros has done a fantastic job.
Beirut's biryani.
The scale that they've achieved, not just in India but also globally. Uh, Biryani by Kilos is massive respect, because they're the only biryani brand I can think of in India who've got the most amount of PM fit in maximum markets. Uh, I don't know the kind of level of success they are having, but to be across at 40 plus cities and operate is
That scale is massive.
it's that scale is commendable, right? However, what I think is, Biryani by Kilo and us are not directly competing, because they sell not just a biryani but an experience. So you have to wait for 60 minutes, you get it in a handi. It's a very different market. It's pricier, whereas we are more mass premium, fun. You want it quickly. So while the category might be the same, but even in the same category, there are multiple levels. Now, even if you go up to Lucknow and all, I mean, there are guys who may be selling biryani at 1/3 of the pricing that we are. Now, that is also a very different audience. So you have a multi-layer audience, depending on what they want, what appeals to them, price point, and so on, in the same category.
Interesting. Got it. What are the kind of challenges you faced in building HOB?
So we really thought with the numbers that we're doing, which is more almost 2.5 times of what a good cloud kitchen does. It would be easy to convince investors and get capital. I think that has been challenging.
Huh.
Cloud kitchen generally just has been radioactive since the last 5-6 years, but it's improving. The other thing is also, I think, guys before us have raised copious amounts of capital and not managed to get that level of success. So
And returns
that
for the
had
investors.
returns for the investors.
Mm.
So that had kind of played against us. Uh, but the good part is that the approach that we have is that each kitchen makes money. Now, yes,
How many kitchens you all have today?
so we have 10 in Mumbai. Delhi, we have 10, but they're just brand new.
Oh, okay.
On the average age is not even 60 days old. So I would not really count. But we still managed to do around 9,000 orders last month, only in Delhi. So, the what we do is very simple. Yeah. I mean, before we enter a market, we serve 300-400 people through pop ups and trials. Then we understand the nuances in terms of what changes we need to make in the menu. Like a very simple thing, right? Chicken 65 is a very popular item in Delhi, but it's not so in Bombay. So that is something that we launched with when we went there. The texture of the sauces is slightly heavier, more creamier in
Oh,
Delhi.
okay.
So these are like the small things
Nuances, yeah.
which you have to get right. And once that is done, then we start with just one kitchen, maybe two. We run that for good 2-3 months. The problem in the cloud kitchen space is distribution access does not mean success. So PM Fit guarantees success, and PM Fit takes time. You cannot short circuit PM Fit. It will take time when you start 1-2 stores. You will have to serve 2-3,000 orders. You will have to see all your KPIs, your repeat, your food feedback, and then build your thesis where you should scale in that market. Fortunately or unfortunately, this process just takes time. It will take 2 quarters for you to do. So just because you have capital in the bank does not mean that you go all out. And I think that is been my biggest reflection and learning from seeing others and the past ventures that I've been a part of.
Hmm. Why do you think that cloud kitchen as a model, though it has succeeded, as if I want to open one two as a normal family business चालू करना है food के अंदर, so it has probably succeeded at that level where you breaking even in maybe 12, 18 months, 24 months from product to product or the food category to category. But why do you think as a scalable model it has not worked so well? Maybe there have been very limited players who've been able to do that.
I think exactly the other way around. Because if you open a cloud kitchen just one, you will not get economies of scale. See, cloud kitchen, if you see, it is heavily dependent on the marketplace, which is Swiggy and Zomato, at least in the
Correct.
early days, right?
Correct.
Now, you can say, nahi, I'll do my direct orders and I'll build my own
नहीं
consumer
होएगा.
audience, but
नहीं
let's be
होगा.
real,
Yeah.
right? Now, if you are getting access to that marketplace has certain cost structures. One of the reasons I think this has been challenging is because it is very important to have a bucket size not lower than 550, 600. Problem
Okay.
starts happening is because you have to understand
The
discounting
order value you are saying.
discounting becomes a fixed value than a percentage. Now, if your bucket size is lower, it just by percentage it is much higher. The other thing also you must understand and appreciate is that there is a fixed cost for the rider to come and deliver. Now, if your bucket size are lower, your commissions by definition have to be higher. Because how will the platform compensate the rider? And inversely also, if your bucket size are higher, you can get economies of scale and maybe lower comms. So we've talked about discount, we've talked about comms, and then also, the certain volume that you need to do. One is the high average order value, and two, I think for a cloud kitchen to sustain and make money, you got to do 1,900 orders a day. Anything less than that,
1900.
no, 90,
90, okay.
orders a day.
Okay, got it.
And anything less than that, it starts to become slightly
It starts
stressful.
fading out. Yeah.
Now
Okay.
the challenge is
Be it any food category, 90, 100 orders on an average
is you need
should
right
do.
to create that ROI. You need a
Mm.
you need, in my opinion, you need a cloud kitchen has to hit a 16-18 lakhs revenue if it is heavily dependent on marketplace, just to be able to keep fixed cost and everything in check. And I think that's important. Now the challenge is you do this across 50 and 60 locations. That's where it gets challenging. which is where PM Fit is very important. And that's why they say, right, India's a large market, India's a large market. But tell me 100 locations where you think you'll be able to sell biryani worth 20 lakhs at the price point we sell in the
Regularly
country
every
and
month.
regularly every month.
Uh,
So,
when you say you've been mentioning PM Fit for a while now,
yeah.
what do you mean by in your business? Every business has different thoda
So,
meaning
PM
and
Fit, I would say, okay, there is a certain value below which you will not sell your product, correct? Uh, say over a period of medium to long term, you say, okay, my discount is going to be X. Now, sustained price of product minus discount, ensuring that you get 100 users to pay you and not drop off just because you've not done ads, and to keep that organic funnel large is what I define as PM Fit. The ability to basically ensure that that cohorts is in to give me that sense of comfort that okay, this store will do well
they are willing to pay this
and they're willing to
X
pay
minus
this.
the
Yeah.
discount percent
See,
discount.
yeah, and you need to hold, right? Like we have never done BOGO. We don't do get buy one get one. Uh, so your ability to hold on to that price and still get volume is what is
That
very
90
important.
100
Yeah.
orders per day
Yes.
consistently for a few
Consistently.
months.
Yes. And
Okay.
also understand something, right? Cloud kitchen is a very seasonal business. You get Shraddh, Shravan, Ganpati, veg days. So you need to be thinking on your feet in terms of okay, what will I do? A lot of my non-veg customers will turn veg. Do I have my strong veg offering? Because biryani brand usually in the other months is 70% non-veg. Now you have to flip that, right? Because you have a fixed cost. And if those months cumulative are like 2.5, 3, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to ride it out. Because then everything that you gain, you kind of lose
Yeah,
here
then you burn in those
and you
months.
burn in those months. So it is just getting all of this right with sensible operational cost, fixed operational cost, and a sensible capex per store, which is not compromising on the business, but at the same time, not in a situation where you've taken like 3 years to recover the money, because then the model is not that attractive.
Correct. Many cloud kitchens, when they have started, they probably build 2 3 kitchens and 2 3 locations, 2 3 outlets. But then they start doing a franchisee. They start offering franchisee of their brand. Is how do you see franchisee as a model in cloud kitchen?
So I
Not just
find
talking about biryani. I'm just talking about cloud
so I
kitchen
find
as well.
franchising in India slightly hard.
Okay.
Okay. My question is very simple. If you are creating something that has got a payback, right, within 24 months,
Hmm.
why you want to give a franchise? What reason? Is it financial or is it operating? Secondly, if you don't have those financials, then you are just dragging somebody else in the sinkhole along with you and and blame him.
But you're
So
making your buck.
you're making a buck. And I think what has happened is also in the food businesses, uh, so you know everyone in their life will at some point brush once at least with something to do with food or food business, usually, right? Because it's such a wide gamut. And with franchising, what happens is there are a bunch of people who are excited, who maybe stand in a queue once in a restaurant and say, "Arey, I took 30 minutes for my table. This business is great. I need to do this right away,"
Hmm.
but have no clue. So those guys get the short end of the stick. And similarly, there are some operators who know, okay, you know what, I'll make my franchise fee. Now, whether this guy makes money or doesn't make money, I don't care. So that's where it all kind of goes sideways.
Most of the time, it is the financial thing only. I mean, the founder is because we've spoken to so many food-based, cloud kitchen-based founders, and many a times we just try to understand from their way of presenting and stuff like that. That it is that they just want to abhi 2 3 outlet ho gaye. Now I want to just make that franchisee fee of 5 lakh rupees and give them the brand and let them operate. We'll take care of marketing. We'll give them customers. We'll do the brand building. Everything will be from our end, but let them do the operations, stuff like that.
Never works, because even if you cross the financial hurdle, You yourself being an entrepreneur in food are maxing out at 3. How do you think that guy is going to sustain? Who's a newbie? So you will have to work with him shoulder to shoulder to ensure his success. And if that is not your intent is just to make that 5 lakh franchise fee, then it's just a
Hmm.
pack of cards
And it has
and you can do
happened
it
not
on.
in just food, even beverages like coffee, tea,
Yeah.
etc. There are so many people who've come out with franchisees, but I mean, big brands have, I don't want to name it, but there have been big brands which have just flipped because of going towards a franchisee, making that quick buck, but not ensuring that your operations at the franchisee level is happening correctly, brand building is happening correctly, customers are coming back. So all those things were not in place. So you guys are completely into
Completely
company owned, company operated.
company owned, company operated, no franchising. Maybe when we do a country like Saudi, you will need a local partner there, but that's
Master
again a
franchise.
JV. No, it's not master franchising,
Okay,
it's a
not in.
joint venture.
Got it.
And I think you need to have skin in the game. It just cannot be brand rights and you do what you want. You need to have equal skin in the game financially. There should be equal or more to lose for the brand than the operator, and that's where I think it all makes sense.
Got it. Tell me, like when you're opening a a new store, a new kitchen, what is the kind of capex that you guys have to invest, and typically what is the break even point of
So
a
typically a
outlet?
cloud kitchen, we need anywhere between 450 to 500 square feet, because we do around, typically a mature stores do anywhere between 3200 to 3500 orders a month. And the capex is anywhere between 26 to 30 lakhs. It is slightly on the higher side for a cloud kitchen, but then again, we don't compromise on the product. The biryani is done fresh. There are certain automation machines that we have which take space, and just for delivering that product in the manner that we intend to, it requires that investment. We believe that investment pays off, because if you see the kind of numbers that we do, it 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 pays off, because 60% of the biryani is rice, and that is one component we do completely fresh at the store. We don't compromise on that.
And how do you ensure that, so let's say you are in Mumbai, you're having 10 stores. So you guys have a central kitchen and you all give your products to all the this thing. How does
So
that
what
work?
we've done is we've got a model in which there are central kitchens, but not ours, not on our books. They manufacture for us. There is very strict QC from our end at their base, and also what my co-founder has smartly done is complexity is being reduced by spice mixes. So we work with a company I wouldn't not at liberty of naming, but they work with Haldirams and Frito Lays, and what they do is they give these spice mixes at all our stores,
Ready,
which
ready. Yeah,
ensures
yeah.
that there is a high level of consistency. So there is predefined rice, maybe convert, put a spice mix, and then you get your end product.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So, if I were to start a cloud kitchen today, right, what would be the guidance or a process that you would tell me, okay, this is how you are supposed to do. This is step one, step two, step three. If I were to come to you as a young person, want to start a cloud kitchen with.
So I think first thing I would ask you is what is it that you want to do? Because cloud kitchen means a dark kitchen which delivers food. So first understanding what is that category of food, and whether that category is large enough it's to warrant a business. Is it a great product? Sometimes you stumble upon great products, but can great product make a sustainable business? I think that's the question. Two, Swiggy and Zomato have done a great job in democratizing entrepreneurs, right? Who want to start a food business. So when you decide, okay, this is the category I want to do, I'm assuming a lot of that decision comes from the fact that you've stumbled upon some form of greatness or gap in that category or the product. Then I think the next step is for you to understand the market for that product, demand for that product in the market that you want to do.
Hmm.
And I think everything else you build from there.
Hmm. Okay. Got
So,
it.
you will say, okay, biryani is a great category, but hey, I'm great at making pancakes, for example. Now, then you'll have to say, okay, I'm great at making pancakes, but does the market that I want to start have will it sustain? Does it is there demand for pancakes? Can I create a different category? Am I confident? Or pancakes is selling and there is a gap. So all this information you'll get from the marketplace.
After doing some
Yeah,
surveys and
yeah.
feedbacks, etc.
And then you have to find that blend of what you're really good at, what is that gap in that market. But most importantly, I think even then there is no guarantee of success. What you need to do is you need to layer it with some form of a story with attached with that product, convincing people why they should buy from you. What about you? Because look, initially the brand is going to be about you.
Hmm.
It's going to be about the founder. It's
And
going to be about the
your
story.
near and
Yeah,
dear ones
and
would be
people buy
buying it.
stories. At the end of the day, they want to know. Okay, is there some great, you've learned some creative, fun way of making a pancake with some new tool that the world needs to know, and maybe you create a skit out of it. You create a story out of it, and maybe it doesn't sell that much, but it's a great hook to get people to
At
buy
least the
pancakes that you
initial
are selling.
initial leg of
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
and then, of course, the product has to be great. It needs to hit the right notes and value for money, taste, comparables with the other peers in the market. And then that's how it organically goes up.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. You mentioned automation in your cloud kitchen. What kind of automation you guys are doing
So
to ensure that the
we've taken
deliveries
the
are happening?
the most important factor in the biryani is the dum factor at the rice. So we've got a machine that basically soaks, washes, cooks, and does the whole dum. And then we have our own proprietary spice mix that we mix to create a flavor in that rice. Typically, when you look at a biryani, right, a traditional biryani, what my grandfather would make, it's like one pot where you have meat, sauce, rice, all cooked, and there's a mini water cycle that is going on internally to flavor the rice. What we need to understand is that how do we deconstruct it, but also get the same flavor without diluting it? And I think that's where the whole trick is, and the IP and what we've spent the last decade perfecting.
Hmm. Okay. Got it. You've raised a round, as you were mentioning. So, tell me, like, how did you get these investors? As you said in the start of the conversation, that it was a little bit of a challenge to get the right investor partners and to pitch to them. How many months did you take? How many investors did you pitch to? What was your investment journey like?
Crazy, man. I mean, I think this has been the most difficult and challenging part of the business. So, so the good part is when you start something, right? And with us with HOB, we were very clear. We spent a decade in the startup circus, like I mentioned before, and what me and Mikhail discussed is that the passion and the core in the product was missing. We wanted to go back to our roots. So, we found two guys who we appealed to and said, look, you know what? Scale bhul jao. Valuation aside. This is what we've identified as a gap compared to the other biryani guys in the market. We think we can do a better job. Back us, but we don't know what the outcome is. And I think it is very important to be rational. It is important to be logical in terms of, hey, you know what? Let me put what I am doing on the table. But at the same time, be mindful that, look, it's a risky bet. And the good part is you will scare a lot of people away, but the ones that stay back are the ones who are going to back you for a long time. So one of the things that worked well for us is that we found the right set of people early on. Uh, yes, we had to work really hard to prove ourselves time and time again. First, they said, okay, first do two kitchens and show. Then they said, okay, you know what? These two are the best markets in Bombay. You have to do more. Then you do more. They say, okay, but you've not covered the city. Then after you cover the city, they come back and say, hey, but biryani is a challenging category. Anyone outside their home turf has not done well. Then you do that. Then they say, acha, cloud kitchen mein, I don't know if the margins are there. Then you do that. Then it comes down to, acha, but you you've diluted too much. So we've heard all kinds. And it's like, I was telling you earlier, there are things in your control and things outside your control. So things in our control is, okay, how do I ensure I pour everything, heart, blood, sweat, tears in the product, right? To make it the best, and let that do the talking. Yeah.
Hmm. How
So
many
everything has
invest?
been a byproduct, but very interesting story, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
our last round that we raised, it was getting very difficult to raise money locally. So I had to pivot. I actually raised the entire round from family office in Middle East and investors in the US. So for them, it was novelty, whereas the Indian investors were probably, I think, too tainted or radioactive because they see, right, so many biryani startups failing. So that was very interesting. And one of the philosophies that we have, values in the business, is that there's no debt. So as a value, I want to stay away from any form of debt. And now there are funds in my community available to entrepreneurs like me, who, if you don't have debt, get preference of equity capital. So I think that was a very interesting story that we use a hook we use to raise cash. So me and my co-founder, we flew down to America. We flew down two different airports because we literally smuggled so much of food. And we did a roadshow in Newark, Chicago, Dallas, Houston.
Interesting.
With my 18-month-old infant and our spouses all helping us, renting Airbnbs and holding on these roadshows and events for people to taste the biryani and back us. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was interesting. It was a good,
So those
interesting
were
1 month.
individuals who y'all
Yeah.
were pitching to also for investment,
Yes.
and once they tasted your biryani, of course, then
They loved it. In
they
fact,
loved it. And
the funny story is that when we landed, 80% of them ghosted us, but we were there with the food. So we had their addresses and we rented a car on Turo and we just went to all their doors, put the packet of biryani, send them a photo, said, I know you don't have time, but we are here with the food, taste it. They all tasted it. And then it kind of snowballed where we were just sitting twiddling our thumbs for 3 days in anxiety. So, yeah, I mean, some very interesting, cool stories. But yeah, it was fun. It's an
yeah,
adventure.
please, okay, please tell any other story
Uh,
with these investors. How did it go?
so it went really well, and what happens is, right, in my opinion, so this round, even though this current round that we are raising is our largest round, it's more than all the money we've raised in the past, but it's the most easiest fundraise. Reason being is because 70% is committed from the same guys who've backed us before. And the beauty is that, once you start building credibility, it gets easier. So the hard part, I would say, is over. It's behind us. But like they say, scale has different heads. One is gone, the other two will show up. So let's see.
Yeah,
It's an adventure.
it's an adventure. Yes.
Yeah.
What has been your journey with the investors? I mean, once they have invested, how have they been? In terms of value addition, not just capital, but what has been the value addition for you from these investors?
So one good thing we've done is we've sent them a monthly update, and even if we've not had anything, we've just used it as a way to communicate.
Yeah, it's an
Right?
engagement. Yeah.
It's an engagement. And we've also spoken about challenges very openly. We've
Hmm.
spoken about the mistakes that we've made. We've not shied away. So what this has helped us is it has basically, usually between a founder and the investment community, the always that, ki acha, what is the discounting this founder should get, right? And what we've done is we've taken that completely away, because where we've screwed up, we've said openly that we've screwed up. These are the mistakes we've made, but hey, we are fixing it. Or we projected that we will do X, Y, and Z, but it didn't happen. These are the reasons we've identified. We are fixing it. And after we fix it, we update them. So that has been very interesting. From a value addition point of view, look, you have to understand something, right? Uh, you will select HNIs, you will select people who can, participate with maybe 25, 50, $100,000. But most of these guys don't really have time. Now, you can be selective. Maybe there's somebody from the marketing field or where you'll go for advice, or who will be, generous with your time. But in the initial leg of fundraising, you're not really picky, choosy about who and what you want to take capital from. I mean, these are just
Individuals.
individuals, and these
they
are
might be
these are real
professionals.
challenges a founder has.
Yeah, and they might be busy in their
Yeah.
own professional
Professional life. And
yeah.
I think, look, every business reaches a tipping point, right, of scale, of progress, where it's not a push, it's pull, right? So then things start coming to you, and until then it's hard. And I think the hardest part is you have to get really really thick skin to take rejections. People just on the outside see, oh, you have so many people who've backed you, you have so many investors on your cap table, but for every one there have been 8 and 9 who've said no. By the way, it's not the guys who say no. Half of them just ghost you. They don't even reply,
Yeah.
right? Then some have the courtesy and decency to reply and say no. And this one will say yes. So the idea is that how do you every day after hearing those no's still keep your spirits high and come back and fight? And you do this with nobody in the team knowing that this has happened, because it affects morale significantly. Like when your team comes to know, or if they come to know that, hey, you know what, you pitched 100 and only 10 said yes, your mind always is trained towards saying, Arey, but 90 said no, why
Yeah,
did they
always
say
should.
no,
Yeah.
what's wrong with the business?
Hmm.
And that's the last thing you want to
Yeah.
really index on, right?
Hmm. That all looks good in the
Yeah,
hindsight when it comes
yeah,
out on
it's
in a
mental. Yeah,
story.
beyond a
Yeah.
point, it's mental. you know
Hmm.
Entrepreneurship is not sexy at all,
Hmm.
right? There are it the result when you get it right looks amazing, but uh, everything that goes behind the scenes is mental.
Tell me some interesting, customer story that you have. Very any funny incident or an interesting incident that has happened. Who's had your biryani? Something.
So so there's a lady who called, and she was very upset after having a biryani, very very upset. And she's like, you have no idea what a biryani is, this is not how it works. uh, you don't even come close to making my mom's biryani. And I, me being me, said, hey, you know what, uh, I would love to learn. Let me know when she's cooking next. So it turned into a chuckle, because that's the thing, right? With biryani, it's an emotion. And when emotions are involved, logic and rationality completely goes out of the window, right? So either you get defensive about it, or
You
you
take it
just
to
play
your heart
along.
and you,
And
yeah.
you either you just play along. And look, with food, no matter what you do, there will always be 5 or 6 out of 100 who are not going to be happy,
Who will complain?
who will complain. and
Hmm.
and it's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah. So then, what did that? How did that conversation go?
It I don't know, she didn't get back. I did follow up shamelessly. Okay, let me know when she's cooking next, I would
Uh,
love to learn. But there was no follow up on that.
okay. So we come to the fag end of this conversation, and we're going to wrap it up with a rapid fire. Be quick, be rapid with this. First question: your favorite competitor's biryani?
BBK.
That is biryani by kilo. Second one: worst comment and best comment on your product.
Best comment is when a 10-year-old said, I eat this every week. I think worst comment was when actually somebody said, uh, we should shut shop and probably off ourselves because this is not biryani. I take it he was just very emotional, so we let that slide.
Okay. Last one is top three metrics to measure in a cloud kitchen model.
Your repeat, uh, discounts, and to get all of that, what is your ad spends? Of course, it's all correlated with your number of orders. So number of orders being the most, it's important, but I think that's a byproduct.
All right, got it. Last question. What is your vision for House of Biryani over the next 3 to 5 years?
My vision is to take biryani as a moat and take the baton of Indian food, Indian biryani, and take it global. uh, you know what we must understand is that globally, chicken and rice is very acceptable. I think what we need to do is just find that bridge with how biryani helps achieve that, with the look, feel, approachability, and do that across the globe.
Interesting. Thank you. Very nice to have you on the season finale. So to say, this is the last episode. So wonderful to host you. Thanks a lot for being here. I know you had a super tight schedule, have to travel to Dubai, etc. But thanks a lot for making it.
Pleasure.
I think a lot to learn, especially about the food business, the cloud kitchen business, and also in general about entrepreneurship and how one must pursue this or how one must think about it, right? um, Good learnings out here. I hope that all our viewers get to see this side of you and learn from this conversation.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for
thanks a
having me.
lot. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Mohammed, for
Thank
making
you.
this